So we've all heard the story or the myth of a snake sizing up their owner. Now I am literally going to bust this myth. This is Henry, and I am Brandon, and we're going to be talking about if this story is true or not. Now, first thing to mention is there are different variations of this story. The most recent variation I heard was that someone's auntie had a reticulated python that was circling them, and she originally thought it was being protective, and then it tried to eat her. It turns out it had been sizing her up for days. Now, there's a couple things. Obviously, that's not true. And also, why do you own a retic in a house rather than a viv or a big room that's dedicated to it? That doesn't make sense. Often these stories do come from people that are uneducated on reptiles. However, sometimes it does come from people that are educated, meaning they are keepers of reptiles but probably don't know what they're doing. And yeah, obviously the stories aren't true. So this is Henry, like I said. He is a Mex king snake, or a Lampropeltis mexicana mexicana. Now, obviously, he is not big enough to eat me. This is literally him touching my face. He is way too small. But he can eat medium mice. Now, I have never ever seen him size up a medium mouse. I have seen him sniff around and then eat it. But that is only when he's went on hunger strikes, because this one is a pain in my ass. And yeah, snakes are opportunistic eaters, which means they are ambush predators. They eat when they see the opportunity to eat, meaning they won't hunt. They will just wait, or they'll, go around, they'll see something to eat and they will hit it. So in the wild, he would eat mice, maybe other snakes, because he's a king snake. Basically anything he can get his hands on. Well, not hands, because he's a snake. But yeah, the story usually goes that a big retic, or a green anaconda, or even a Burmese python sized up their owners and tried to eat them. I've actually heard a variation of the story where it did eat them, and that's just untrue, because none of those snakes can eat a fully grown human being. That's just not the case. And yeah, basically it is a myth because of the ambush predator thing, but also an animal will not size up prey in the wild or in captivity because it is not in its nature. If it was something, say, another apex predator, maybe a big cat, or even something like a bear, or a shark, maybe. But again, they're not stupid, they will just hit the food, they're not going to size it up. They don't have the time to do that in the wild. And snakes especially do not. They just do not hunt. That is not how they work. Now, the other obvious myth is, like I said, a lot of animals just aren't big enough to even consider us food. I know for well that I could sit next to a green anaconda or a fully sized reticulated python and not be bothered at all. Obviously, if they're defensive, maybe I'd be worried about them biting me, and obviously it would hurt. But they wouldn't ever try and eat me. They'd maybe mistake my fingers for food if I stuck my hand in there on feeding day, or I stuck my hand in there and I smelt of mouse, or, I don't know, pig or something. They might bite me, but they will pretty quickly realise that I'm not food, or I will get them off of me and they won't go for me again because they've realised I'm not food. And yeah, that pretty much busts this myth. There's so many variations of this story and none of them are true. Right? And it goes for every single snake, no matter how small or big. They do not size up prey. And I'd argue most reptiles do not size up at prey. Even like my leopard geckos, they just ambush the locusts. They don't go hunting. Put the locusts in front of them and they will just attack it. There's no thinking about it. They just go for it. And yes, in the wild, maybe they don't do that. But in captivity, they definitely do. So yeah, my thoughts on this story is that it's complete and utter BS. And I imagine everyone that's an experienced keeper also thinks the same thing. Before you click off the video, this is the end of the video, please leave your variations of the story in the comment, because I would love to read through some of them, because some of them are hilarious. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. Goodbye.